Our Business from the Bench story. Judge Amy Coney Barrett has been approved by the Senate Judiciary Committee on a party line vote of 12-0 and is on track for a Monday confirmation vote by the full Senate. Democrats refused to participate in the committee process. They wanted to prevent Republicans from having a quorum for the vote, delaying the process indefinitely. Instead, Republicans took a page from the 2013 playbook of Chuck Schumer and Harry Reid and decided to change the precedent, reverting to general Senate rules on committee hearings rather than Judiciary Committee rules, meaning all they needed was a simple majority. Senator Mike Lee slamming Senate Democrats, saying, quote, "When it comes to the judiciary, abuse of power is their agenda." Take a look.
What has happened to this problem isn't a bipartisan failure. It is a unipartisan strategy. Every norm broken, every act of escalation. One party, the Democrats, has been the aggressor in every single instance. At every step along the way, our side has used our constitutional authority, and the other side has abused its authority. There is no tit for tat. There is just tat. Democrats killed Judge Bork's nomination for partisan political reasons. They killed Miguel Estrada's nomination for partisan political reasons. They slandered Justice Thomas, Justice Alito, and Justice Kavanaugh for partisan political reasons. They nuked the filibuster, again, for partisan political reasons. And now they're trying to scuttle this meeting, this hearing, this vote for partisan political reasons. When it comes to the judiciary, abuse of power is their agenda.
With me now with Heritage Action for America, Noah Weinrich. Welcome, Noah.
Thanks for having me.
So we saw Democrats fail at boycotting today's vote. Do they have any power to derail Monday's confirmation vote before the full Senate? Or are Democrats pretty much powerless in this situation?
They really don't have the power. They don't have the votes, and they don't have the support. Amy Coney Barrett has the support of at least 51 senators, and she only needs 50. And she also has the support, more importantly, of the American people. Recent polling shows that every week, Amy Coney Barrett's support has risen. New polling this week shows that she has a majority support among the American electorate. She has a wide, broad support. Independents support her. People in swing states support her. There are no objections to Amy Coney Barrett. The Democrats have tried and they have failed. The left thinks that they really just want a puppet on the court. They can't stand that Amy Coney Barrett is an originalist who will judge the law fairly and who won't simply push through the left's political agenda. And so they really don't have recourse on Monday. No true American, no independent American looks at Amy Coney Barrett and sees a problem. They see her as a strong, independent judge, a successful working mother, and someone who will support and uphold the law on the court.
And it's interesting to me that Democrats haven't been able to find anything in her past to kind of bring out to smear her with. So instead, they're looking at the future and assuming what she may or may not do while on the court. One of these cases, of course, is Obamacare. And we saw the Senate Democrats who boycotted today's committee vote in the Senate Judiciary Committee. They left behind on their desks big posters talking about how Judge Barrett would get rid of Obamacare and millions of people would be kicked off their health insurance plans. What does it tell you that Democrats are using Obamacare to go after the judge?
Look, this shows me that this is their last resort. They don't have anything they can smear Amy Coney Barrett with. They tried and failed with Kavanaugh. There's nothing in her past that's objectionable. So the only thing they have is her supposed views against Obamacare, which they have never proven, and which no one knows actually how she will vote on the court. But this is the only thing that they have that is slightly politically tenable. Their base, strongly supports Obamacare, so they've sort of fabricated this narrative that Amy Coney Barrett will kill Obamacare. But it shows that they basically admitted defeat. They realize that if they attack her faith, if they attack her family, as they did in the past, that the American people will see that for the extremism it is, and they find it offensive. And so Obamacare is really the only tactic they have to try and stall this nomination, but they know it's not going to work.
And it's interesting to me how throughout this whole past few weeks and even today with the vote, we're not seeing nearly as many protests, for example, against Judge Barrett as we saw when it came to Kavanaugh. You know, we aren't seeing the same level of circus and political theater and fear-mongering as they did around Kavanaugh. Is it because Democrats realized that that made them look really bad?
I think that's right. They haven't invented a scandal against Judge Barrett as they did with Judge Kavanaugh. And so there's really nothing to protest. I was out at the Capitol today. We had a Confirm Amy rally with several conservative groups led by Heritage Action. And we saw two protesters. You know, someone drove by on a bike and yelled at us, and that was about the extent of it. A couple of years ago, you would have had hundreds or thousands of people out in front of the Supreme Court waving flags. You would have seen handmaids out. But today, it was pretty calm, pretty muted. You've certainly seen protests, but Amy Coney Barrett is a likable person. She's charismatic, and most people understand that she will be a good judge. And so you simply haven't seen as many protests. The Democrats realize that it is a political loser to try and attack her. They've seen the polls. They know that the American people like Amy Coney Barrett, and they want her confirmed. And so they're not using their political firepower to try and drum up protests.
It seems like they're almost trying to take and save up their political firepower for later on down the road. They're hoping to get Biden into the presidency, have him win this November. And now we see Biden, after weeks of dodging the question on court packing, he's now kind of hinted at what he would do. And he says that he would bring together a committee that would talk and reach a conclusion after 180 days and give him some recommendations. And he said, and he admitted that that could include going even beyond court packing. Does that concern you?
It absolutely concerns me, and it concerns most Americans. Recent polling, including polling done by my organization, Heritage Action, shows that the vast majority of Americans, including the majority of independents, oppose court packing. They recognize that it is too extreme. It's basically changing the rules for your own party's benefit. You know, historically, we have had 9 justices for about the last 150 years. And so to suddenly try and expand that is just an exercise in political power. It is cheap. It's a way to cheat the game, essentially. And Biden still hasn't given us a straight answer. When pressed on it, he said that the American people will know after the election. When pressed further, he said that he will assemble a commission. If you've been around Washington long enough, you know that assembling a commission is a code for, I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do. He is deferring this question. Obviously, he'll be the one picking these experts, and the DNC will be the ones. So really, it's going to be a group of far-left people who are going to try to court pack, and more. They might try to get the current conservative justices off the court. So that shows the stakes of of November. And the American people are watching this very closely.
Because it comes off as a threat from Democrats. We've been seeing them do this for many years now. It's really accumulating now. It's really hitting its zenith, its point, that they're threatening the courts, saying, rule our way on Obamacare, Roe v. Wade, other such cases that may be coming before the court in these next few months, or else we will court pack. We will do other such means to diminish your influence, diminish your independence as the third branch of government. So would you agree with Senator Mike Lee when he says that abuse of power is really the Democrats' judicial agenda here?
I think that's right. I think the left is trying to abuse the court system for their own political gain. For decades, they have upheld the court as, the highest law of the land. They have allowed the court to rule over Congress's laws, to rule over the state's laws. And for decades, the courts have ruled liberally. They've been filled with activist judges handpicked by the left. And now, finally, we are getting an originalist, a fair majority on the court and in the lower courts. And now the left cries foul. Now they are trying to abuse their power to either take over the courts or reject the courts. Some people have called to dissolve the Supreme Court on the left, while others, there was an article in The Atlantic today, in CNN yesterday, are calling to pack the courts. And look, that hasn't been tried since FDR, and even he couldn't do it. So if it was too extreme for FDR, it should be too extreme for the American people today.
Yeah, so Monday will be very exciting. We're hoping to see good things with that vote. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Noah.
Thank you for having me.